Hey, how's it going? So today I wanted to talk about my last relapse and why I feel like it was so important to my recovery. Um, and if you're questioning why would relapse be important to your recovery, maybe by the end of this story you'll understand. Uh, so I've been in active addiction for 21 years, and like I've said in other videos, a lot of times I'd get clean for 2 years and then fall off for 2, 3, 5 years, then get back on for a year or two, and that was sort of my routine. And it's been almost well 2 years of recovery now, almost, and then 2.5 years of active addiction. So 2016 or 2015, it was something like that. I woke up one morning beside my wife, and she couldn't remember my name. She couldn't remember my children's name. She didn't know what the day of the week was or what year we were in. It turned out that she had encephalitis. That's like a fever of the brain. She had herpes simplex B go up into her brain, and it caused a bunch of problems. Almost killed her. So I did almost lose my wife. And I'd brought her to the hospital about a week before, complaining of a headache. She had been complaining of a headache. And the doctor just looked at us and laughed and said, well, what do you want me to do? Give you some Tylenol? But encephalitis, that's something that it's like one in every, I don't know, happens very, very rarely, and even more rarely in a small town. This was the first reported case in the town of Vanderhoof that I live in. And so they put her on acyclovir, and 2 months later she came home. But what I'd like to talk about is what I did the very first night that she stayed in the hospital. And instead of going home that night and being with my children, I stopped by my dealers for the first time in I don't know how many years, and picked up and started my 2.5 year run that night. And I've talked to a lot of counselors and psychologists and stuff like that, and they tell me that in times of crisis you go back to what you know, and so drugs is what I knew. And there's always been that guilt and shame of, like, when my wife and kids needed me most, what did I do? I turned towards drugs, right? And saying it out loud, it doesn't make me feel overly great, but it was the beginning of that. It was, if I wouldn't have started up again under those circumstances, I might have done it under less extreme circumstances that would have had less effect on my life, and maybe I would have kept going for longer, if that makes any sense. So, because, like, what happened was, eventually my wife got out of the hospital, got better, went back to work. She put her life back together, and I was still in pieces. I was still using. I went down this. So she lost a lot of her ability to reason, and I used that I used that to my advantage. And again, like, makes me feel awesome to say these things, but so I started selling, and like, if you know what I mean, and use that to support my habit. And that's something that she never would have allowed before the accident, but after the accident, she didn't really have the means to say no. I had talked her into the idea that it was a good idea, and at that time she really trusted me. And so, like, I did a lot of breaking trust too, a lot. But she loves me, and we love each other, and it took a lot of counseling, and we both kind of made it through that. But I spent a lot of time feeling like I didn't deserve her anymore because of the things that I did. And she kept reassuring me that, trust me, if I didn't love you anymore, I wouldn't be with you, and I'm going to love you even when you can't love yourself. And I made it through it, and so did she. But So after, kind of living that life for 2 or 3 years, uh, I started watching the ambulance drive by after a customer would leave my house and thinking, geez, was that because of me? Um, and oftentimes it was, because of whatever I had sold a person. I hope this isn't incriminating, but I figure I just wanted to kind of get this off my chest. Um, so over time of watching this happen, my conscience really started to get to me, and I didn't like where my life was headed. I was so, just everything revolved around. Well, I mean, everybody knows how the story goes, right? And I had glimpses of these memories of what life was like before, and I was starting to really kind of wish that life was the way it used to be. But I had no idea how to get back to that. So a friend of mine who had just gotten out of jail told me how when he got put in jail, they put him on Suboxone. And I thought, well, heck, that's the only thing keeping me from quitting was that I didn't want to go through withdrawal. I was scared. So I went to see my doctor, and I got put on Suboxone, and I figured out that I could use in the morning, and then wait until late afternoon to go to the pharmacy to take my Suboxone, and then, if I waited until morning again, that was long enough that the Suboxone was kind of out of my system enough because I metabolized it really quickly. And then I could use again. And so I was using in the mornings, taking Suboxone in the afternoon, and that was my life for like a month or so. I was really cheating myself. And then I eventually said, okay, I'm going to try this. Like, I'm going to try doing this properly. And I was at a point now where I'm nodding out like there's no tomorrow. Like, I couldn't keep my head up. At any given point of the day, I'd just be nodding out all day. And silly me, I thought I was good to go back to work, and I was a tow truck driver at the time. So, and so I get the call that my tow truck's ready for me, and I don't tell anybody what's going on with me. And even my wife was like, are you sure you want to drive? And I was like, oh, I'm fine. Oh, I didn't make it like more than 8 kilometers, and crashed the truck. And I have videos in my playlist there with pictures of my truck and stuff like that. Like I rolled it off an embankment and crushed it like you'd crush a piece of paper in a tin can. It took them 45 minutes of the jaws of life to get me out. Broke 3 vertebrae in my neck. Broke my collarbone. Fractured a bunch of my ribs. Crushed my chest plate. Crushed my ankle. When they first got to me, they thought I was dead, and they weren't in the biggest rush to get me out until I think I said hey or something like that. Not that I remember any of that. The only thing I remember is I remember suffocating right after the accident and thinking, I can't believe I just lived through that just so I could suffocate. And then I suffocated. And then I remember them trying to get me out, and once I realized what they were doing, I tried to help them, and they were like, whoa, stop, and then I went out again. And then I remember waking up at one hospital for like a second, and I remember seeing my boss and my wife, and everybody was crying, and then I went out again, and then I remember being in like an airplane, or I thought I was in an ambulance, but apparently I was in a ambulance airplane or whatever. Then I woke up at a different hospital where a doctor was accusing me of being on drugs. And I guess at this point the tox screen had come back. So I had been in this hospital for quite a while at this point, but just I was out. So they had already ran lots of tests on me and got me stabilized. But I was in and out so much that I just didn't know it. And I woke up long enough to say, like, screw you, I'm on Suboxone, I wasn't on any drugs, something like that. I felt like I had won the argument, and then I went out again. But, it was after that accident that I decided it was time to really take my life in a new direction. Not that I moved mountains or changed the world or made any huge change in my life. The only change I've really made... I'm not a tow truck driver anymore. Now I'm a roofer. I just have today off. I and I don't use. I decided that that was that. I lived through that accident, and I still keep questioning. And I think I said it in the other video, like why do I keep living through these things? Like I'm not going to cure cancer and this and that and the other, but I'll figure that out as I go. But yeah, so that's sort of my story. So if you're sitting there feeling like crap, just know that there's a whole bunch of other people sitting there feeling like crap too, and that you're not alone. We can all feel like crap together, and I think at some point today I'm gonna head out and go for a walk and feel the sunshine on my face and the wind blowing through my beautiful hair, and just listen to the birds and take a moment to appreciate what I have in life and really be in the moment. Maybe I'll get lucky and get to watch a squirrel forage, run around through the trees, and just take a minute to be in this world with another animal or something, and just enjoy the comfort of just having a nice simple life, because life's a lot simpler now. There was always somewhere I had to be, always something I had to do, always somebody counting on me for something. Always, the life of a dealer is not glamorous. It's, especially when you were as busy as I was, it was definitely not glamorous. It was busy. It was very busy. It was like, I remember the first time I got arrested. I got arrested for having 2 ounces of blow in my car. It was just after I picked up. And, sorry. But I remember sitting in the back of the cop car thinking, man, okay, it's over. It's finally over. I can rest. And I slept. I fell asleep in the back of the cop car. Then they brought me to the police station. I fell asleep in the jail cell. I was just so relieved. I thought it was over now. I was like, I don't care. Like, bring me to jail. Do whatever you got to do. Just get me out of this mess is what I was thinking in my head. And I thought for sure that when I got arrested for that, it was all going to be over. And turned out that it had been so long since I'd been arrested, and I had such a clean record because I hadn't been arrested since I was like 18. I'm 37 now. So they let me out of my own recognizance, and I was back out on the streets within 8 hours and high again within 10 hours. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't change anything. Nothing changed. And I remember being quite upset about that. I felt like the system had failed me. Like, I was really, really hoping for jail, because at least there I could have had a better option of trying to stay clean, because I couldn't do it for myself, so I thought maybe they'd force me to, right? Anyway, I think the average person that watches my videos only watches about 3 minutes, so there's about 10 minutes of unwatched video that I've already recorded here, so yeah, I just thought I'd put that out there. Cheers. Have a good day.